Hello students, good evening. Welcome back to the class. As in the previous class, we completed the 8th unit, winds, storms and a cyclone. I hope you all have understood it very well, and I hope you all completed the notes up to our keywords and exercise part questions. Okay, so the next lesson is soil. Before going to the soil, you should know what are the natural resources. So what are natural resources? In your day-to-day life, you are going to observe so many natural resources. Okay, so what are those? They are nothing but they does not depend upon the human, means they cannot be prepared by human beings. They are naturally occurring materials. For example, sunlight, then the plants, animals, whatever the vegetations are there, they all are the natural resources. Mountains, hills, oceans, seas, rivers, wells. Okay, some of the wells are artificial, but some are natural, means they are naturally occurred. So these are called as natural resources. Among all these, the another one important thing is land. So that is also called as a natural resources. So this land include this land is also called as a natural resources. So this includes soil as well as some minerals in it. Right. So these are also called as a natural resources. So these soil and these minerals are they are naturally occurred. They cannot be prepared by human beings, and these are also called as natural resources. Natural resources mean what? From the examples, they are naturally prepared and they cannot be prepared by human beings. Okay, so in this soil, in this lesson, you are going to study about what are the layers, how these soils are formed, what are the minerals contained in it, and how it is important for the farmers and in the upcoming generations, how this soil is going to help, that we are going to study in this lesson. So students, you may ask the question, what are the importance, what are the benefits from the soil, you may ask. So the main importance of a soil are, it is helpful mainly in the purpose of agriculture. As you all know, in the field of agriculture, the soil makes an important role, so that we can produce more yields, more food materials. So from this soil we have so many benefits in the field of agriculture, and it may give shelter, food, and for some animals it is also act as homes, like shelters, means it will providing the shelter for small organisms like earthworm, you know that, right? Earthworms, they are living in soil, and these worms are helpful for the farmers in case of agricultural fields, and some small insects like ant, and some of the worms like earthworms, as I already told, these are living in the soil, and they will eat it. They will eat this soil, and they will get the food materials from the soil itself. So these are the some benefits and some of the importance of the soil. So what are the main contents that is present in the soil, and which type of plant they are going to produce, means they are going to grow in the soil, and what are the animals and what are the benefits that we are going to observe. Okay, so you may observe so many types of soil in your surroundings, right? So in your textbooks, in the table 9.1, they have given you so many, okay, some examples. In that, the first one is a garden soil. Okay, so what is the main plants that they are growing in the garden soil? Okay, I will write the plants here, and then animals, and what uses or some benefits are there. Okay, right? Okay, what are the observation here you can observe, right? So in the garden soil, which type of plants you are going to observe? Example of flowering plants, like flowering plants, and some of the show plants, right, you may observe in the garden soil. Okay, so the next one is what are the animals you are observing there? Ants, as I already told, ants, then earthworms. This type of a small animals or the insects, we call it as the insects, we are observing the garden soil. And then any other observations means it is useful for the cultivation of the flowering plants and the show plants. Okay, so it is used for the cultivation of the plants. Okay, so the next one they given you the soil from the roadside. Okay, roadside soil. Which type of plants you are going to observe there? They are, in that case we may observe the big trees like fruit giving plants, like what some they are, then no, so they are observed here in the roadside soil. And what type of animals you may observe there? Same, the ants, earthworms and the scorpion and some snakes, they are living in the roadside soil. Okay, we give the examples here, snakes and some of the what? Rats you may observe there. Okay, so they are living in the roadside soil. And any of the observations are there? Same wise, it is used for making the roads and some improved roads they are making here. Okay, roadside soil. So the next one, soil from an area where the constructions are going. Means construction soil, in that case the plants observed are very small plants like a grass and some small plants. Okay, so the animals we are observing are ants, right, ants, then the grasshoppers we may observe there. Any other observations? No such a type. So I will give you some activity. You may observe the soils from the variety of places like a garden soil, roadside and construction, and some other places like a soil near the rivers and sands. Okay, so you have to do the activity in making the here soil source. Okay, right here the soil source. And write the plant you may observe there, and what are the animals you are observed there, and write the other observation you are observing. Okay. Okay students, there are some materials are there which cannot be buried, means they cannot be dissolved in the soil. For example, some materials like fruits, vegetables, they are easily buried under a soil and they can be decomposed in the soil and they cannot be remains as a same material. But there are some materials like plastics and polythene bags, they cannot be decomposed in the soil. You how much time you are left in the soil, they will remains as it is. They cannot be decomposed and they cannot be dissolved in the soil. So what to do for such kind of materials? Right, for such kind of materials we are going to make them a separate, and we should avoid to use such kind of materials, so that these materials are harmful for the soil and they can make a soil erosion and they will be decreases the soil fertility. That's why in these days we are hearing the news that stop or ban the polythene bags or plastic bags. Right? Why? Because they cannot be decomposed in the soil, and if they present in the soil, they will lose the fertility of the soil. Okay. So you may heard that decompose. So how the materials are decomposed in the soil? What are the contents or what are the minerals they are present in the soil such so that they can decompose in the material. Okay, so for that we have the next concept, that is the layers of a soil. So this layers of a soil comes under the soil profile. So what are these soil? What is this layers of a soil? You may ask the question. So these layers of a soil means there are some layers present in the soil. We cannot easily get the direct soil. Okay, for that you can do one activity. take the one glass, glass, okay, glass. In that pour some amount of water and add some amount of soil to that. Okay, so I have drawn the diagram here. So that I have taken here the glass and pour the some water here and added the some soil to it. So when we stirred the soil and the water continuously and left it for some hours or some times, what happens there? There are so many contents or so many components present in the soil. They are floating, and some of them are floating in the water, and some are dissolved, and some are kept as it is under, or they are remains same at the depth of the glass. So what you have observed there? Okay, some of the plants or some materials which will not decompose in the material, they will floating on the surface of the water like this. They are called as humus, and then we may observe the water, and there are some amount of clay, means it is wet soil which remains in the third layer. Okay, that is a clay, and the next one is a sand, and then it is followed by the gravel. Gravel is a large amount of soil which has a lot of fertility, and it will be helpful for the cultivation of the plants. Okay, so these are the some layers of a soil we are observed here. So what is this humus? We call it as humus is nothing but the dead rotting material on the water when the soil is poured in a water. That we call it as a humus. It means what? Some of the plants or some other minerals or any materials that are present in the soil that are started to floating or the rotting dead materials, there we call it as a humus. Okay, so we are making the layers of a soil, means we are taking the vertical section of the soil for the purpose of seeing what is present in the soil, that we call it as a soil profile. Okay, so what is called it as a soil profile? The making of a layers of a soil means taking the vertical section of the soil for the purpose of observing the layers. What are the layers in it? That we call it as a soil profile. So how this soil is formed? So this soil is formed, as you all know that soil is formed from the breakdowning of the rocks, means the bigger rocks which are break down into smaller pieces in the presence, means by the condition of wind, water and the climate. Okay, so these materials are impacting on the soil. Okay, so these are the materials impacting on the soil to break down of a rock into smaller pieces and produces the soil. So this process we call it as a withering. Okay, so what is called a withering? A breakdown of breakdowning of a rock into a smaller particles in the presence of some conditions like a wind, water and a climate. This process we call it as a weathering. Okay, we that call it as a soil formation of the soil. So the different variety of rocks will be present in the environment, just like sand material, sandy rocks are present, and graphite rocks are present, and some bigger rocks are present like a mountain rocks. So these all are the different rocks which are going to form the different kind of soils there. So based on the condition or based on the materials of the rocks, they are going to differ as a different soil materials. It is all depend upon the nature of the rocks. Okay, so this is about weathering, layers of the soil and soil profiles. So each layer differs, means each layers of these soil are different in what? As I show here, different colors. In generally, the layers of a soil are different in texture, means they are different in the structure, color and depth, and they mainly depend upon the horizon. Okay, then another thing we call it as a horizon. On this thing only, these layers of a soil are going to make into a different different layers here. Okay, so these each layer of a soil is going to differ in which conditions? In conditions of a texture, that means a structure, and in the color, and in the depth of the soil, and that we call it as a origin. Okay, so I hope you all clear about the layers of a soil and weathering, what is a soil profile, and what is called as what are the things they are going to make a difference in case of a layers of a soil. So there are some horizons are present in the soil, that we call it as A horizon, B horizon, and C horizon, and a D horizon. There are mainly 4 types of horizons are present. It means they are particular area for which the different layer of a soil is used for making the other purposes that we are going to study later. Okay, so here in case of a horizon, it is a certain area of a soil, it is used for other purposes. Then next one is a B horizon. It is having a different structure and texture, and it is having a different property, and that is used for other purpose. Likewise, we are going to differ horizons into a different horizons like A, B, C, D, and we are using it for other purposes. Okay, students, about the horizons, based on the horizons and the types of soil, that all we are going to study in the next class. Okay, thank you.